He's a being that can mess you up from the inside of your brain without necessarily throwing a punch first. Martian the Manhunter, DCAU. When it comes to the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, there's a lot of superheroes that appear in this saga. Some characters are underestimated because of how much screen time they lack. Like Martian Manhunter, for example. He's like a pacifist of the show and stays in the Watchtower most of the animated series, so a lot of people mistake that for him not being strong, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Even though he lacks screen time, that doesn't mean he lacks actual power. And being in a watchtower can be a bit lonely, always telling other people missions, telling other leaguers what their assignment is while you're just looking over it in the tower, doing calculations and such. It could get a little boring. And you would be surprised on how much lore this DCAU Justice League Unlimited version of Martian the Manhunter has. Sure, he has some feats in the animated series, but there's actually more to the animated series. Like, you notice how this art looks? Like, this is actual comics. Oh yeah, this is actually his original form when he was on his Mars planet, so that's why he looks different. Hey, he's a shapeshifter. He can look the way he wants to look. Shoot, I'd give myself a sick behind cape if I could too, if I could shapeshift and dress the way I want to, wouldn't you? Let's get it. He's actually the last Martian. Similar to the main continuity comics that we know, Rebirth, Post-Crisis, and Pre-Crisis, we know he had a family at one point. This universe is no exception to that. There was other Martians that existed at one point. It's explained here pretty well. His name is John Jones. Some call him Martian the Manhunter, the last survivor of a noble Martian race. His kind was annihilated by an alien army many centuries ago. They stole our civilization, our families, and in time even took our physical and mental abilities for their own. And that's when he came to warn the people of Earth, and the Justice League helped defeat the invaders. It says his lore right here, last survivor of the ancient Martian race. Some debate if he's the most versatile member of the Justice League, even though he's always in the Watchtower. The guy has ridiculous super strength, physicals. Same with having superhuman durability. Thanks to his super strength, there's no surprise he can fly and hit things and punch through walls. I'm gonna get back to this a little bit more later, but yeah, he can hit hard with his super strength and rip up machinery. He's the perfect person to blend in because he can literally shapeshift and look like whatever he wants to look like in this example, looking like Superman if he wanted to. He can shapeshift in all kinds of ways, literally stretching and shapeshifting that way in combat. We see them stretch, look rubbery, and get flat. Like, you literally see him looking like Luffy here and Mr. Fantastic. Here, he made himself look like half Superman and half Manhunter. Like, he's wrapping people up and making his arms look like ropes, changing certain parts of his limbs to look like dragonish, you know. Literally made himself look like a dinosaur monster. Stretch, punching, shapeshift, and make his hands into literal maces or weapons to hit even harder to increase the mass of his fist. I mean, when you can do stuff like this, like literally be stuck in ice but increase your mass to make yourself punch harder on top of your super strength, that kind of makes you more of a threat too. I mean, you got occasions like this, like one could say a possible future. Martian Manhunter don't basically age, so yeah, it's still implied he can make his fists and stuff larger. One could say to make his attacks scarier or more potent. Here we actually see him shapeshift into like a snake serpent. Did I mention he technically can regenerate even if he's cut? Or one could say he can just make himself liquidy. His physiology is quite remarkable. He got ripped in half and was okay after that. Like, when he's pretending to be somebody else, you can blast a hole through him and he can heal just fine. Like, Martian Manhunter wanted to go to this place where only women were allowed to go, so he shapeshifted into Supergirl. As you can see him shifting back to normal here. Shape-shifting here into a creature. We seen him shape-shift into a cobra here and go intangible at the same time and get large. You even see terrifying creatures like this he turns into. He can go into liquid mode. He does it again here, getting liquidy to avoid attacks. Ain't that crazy? One of his most useful techniques, he can literally go intangible to where your punches go right through him. He can do this in combat or help save people by literally going intangible and putting his arm through a missile and grab stuff from the inside. In a weird way, one could say your durability doesn't matter when it comes to Martian Manhunter, because what's your durability going to do if he goes inside your body and just stabs through your heart from the inside because he can go intangible and reach in your body? What you going to do about that then? Like, you got a case like this, how he did it? Like, we see him literally go intangible in this being's head, couldn't do nothing about it, literally ripped out his insides that way. That's cheating, right? He can phase himself through walls while holding somebody else. He can make them intangible to where they go through stuff too. Speaking of density shifting, he can make himself super dense if he wants to. On top of going intangible, he can go invisible. He can go invisible and intangible. That's broken. And the ability that pretty much makes him unique compared to any other Justice League member, he's like a telepathic psionic type being to where he can literally go in your head, read your mind, mess your mind up from the inside of your mind without necessarily having to throw a punch. Let's just say that's what he specializes in. Even though he has other qualities like super strength, durability, and stuff, they say the mind is the weapon here when they're explaining the different leaguers and what they specialize in, of course. It's even stated in the handbook his main power is his telepathy. Like you see him reading minds here, for example, to get information they wouldn't snitch about. It's a common thing he does, searching millions of minds crying out to him. If by some miracle you're stronger than him, which I doubt, he can still go in your head and mess you up in your brain to make you go night-night that way. Other psionic or telepathic type beings he can clash with, like Grodd. Martian the Manhunter isn't afraid to physically punch him also, not just mind stuff. Night-night to him. He can telepathically scan for life signs. See, he's a very good asset to the team because Wonder Woman kind of had the power of the life equation in her, but she didn't know how to activate it. It's because of John that she was able to actually get to it and activate it. Like, he's one of those characters where he will literally punch, kick you, go intangible, fight you, and then go in your mind all at the same time. And of course, he can fly. And it's literally stated some of the leaguers can survive in space. And he's one of them because y'all literally see them floating in space. You probably didn't know he has blast power. One could say eye beams, or one could say energy projection he has. Something he definitely needed to use in an animated series more. Or did he even do it at all in the animated series? Laser vision here against Starro. This page right here lets you know all his powers and abilities basically. When we're talking about his muscle strength, it's obvious his leagues upon leagues stronger than normal humans. They're like literally a joke to his strength. Like, they're literally a joke. Even big shark-looking monster creatures underwater he can overpower. We see him bending steel right here. I mean, look how he's manhandling parademons, so you know he's way above human level. But simply saying he has super strength is an oversimplification. To what degree of super strength we're talking? You see him and the rest of the league holding their own against beings that are not human. You see Martian Manhunter punching. It's no surprise right off gate. He can definitely lift vehicles with one arm. You see this vehicle smashing into his body, and he's able to hold it up, the weight. Usually you're going to see a lot of scans of him helping Superman lift and move stuff, like this big junk right here. You see him and Superman working together. I mean, this kind of goes for his punching power too. His punching power can be pretty intense, totaling this car, for example, with ease. So it's really no surprise he can lift up vehicles or punch hard enough to send one flying or damage it. Like these situations, it just makes sense. Cars ram into him like this. I mean, you got occasions like this that prove he can definitely easily punch through. I mean, that's kind of obvious that his punches are this hard, right? I mean, that's proven here. These steel doors he can easily punch down with Superman. Punching through brick walls and stuff, or stuff like that, is just light work to his strength or striking power. These big robots, the team be fighting together. We see him doing his fair share, ripping pieces of it off. Yeah, he can just lift heavy stuff or slow it down with his super strength. You got occasions like this that prove he can lift over 50 plus tons and such, because you see Superman lifting the airplane. All the major powerhouses like Lanterns can lift planes. Martian Manhunter is one of the people that can lift planes. We've actually seen him lift up tanks, proving he can bare minimum lift 50 or 60 plus tons with relative ease. Imagine what his punches feel like. If he can lift 60 plus tons with ease, his punches can easily launch a tank. When it comes to writer intent and narrative, it seems like the writers want certain characters to be similar in power. Like, even if I do believe Superman in this universe has the advantage when it comes to raw muscle over all the leaguers, but the other leaguers can hold their own when it comes to comparing their strength to his still, I would say. Because he's always like in the vicinity when it comes to meteors or asteroids about to hit the Earth. This gives you writer intent on where the writers want Martian Manhunter's power level to be. Because there was like this meteor or asteroid, there was these missiles to use asteroids to bomb the Earth, implying it was about to put the Earth itself in jeopardy. A massive meteor. Check this out. This meteor that was heading towards the Earth, that they had to stop, it was going to fracture the planet's mantle, resulting in global volcanic activity that would release enough particulate matter into the atmosphere to block all of the sunlight. It was going to species wipe the Earth. Like you see Martian Manhunter right here, of course, it was Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Superman, Green Lantern, the four powerhouses working together to divert the direction of this massive meteor away. It's even stated here they combined their strength. It's one of them things where it would have killed everybody over time. It's writer intent that Martian Manhunter is supposed to be similar to Superman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern in them, because they all help do their fair share, combining their strength to do such a feat. Okay, so this is where it gets tricky when it comes to his power level. Since he lacks showings, you got to kind of go off what the other powerhouses can do and somewhat get an idea of his strength that way. Like, there's no exact math to this, but if I had to do a grid, if I was to compare Superman's muscle strength or punching power to Martian Manhunter's, I would definitely give DCAU Superman the advantage. It seems like the writers want him to be stronger than everybody, but I wouldn't say he's a billion times weaker. You know what I mean? Like, if I would say, if hypothetically speaking, if this Superman can lift a planet or some crap, then Martian Manhunter should by default be able to lift a slightly smaller planet. Like, it wouldn't be that much off. 80% of his strength, 90%, something like that. No exact math to it. He should be somewhere in that range, even if Superman has the advantage. Makes sense. Like in this particular occasion, you see Martian Manhunter get hit with fire. Superman gets hit with his kryptonite weakness. They're literally called the big boys. Like he's considering Martian Manhunter a big boy along with Superman, so let you know the right intent on his power level at least. I mean, because when we deep dive into the comics, which is a part of the same continuity, DCAU, Justice League Unlimited saga, there's Android Amazo. Yeah, there was two different Amazos. There was this Amazo fighting like the whole league, of course, Martian Manhunter included, Superman included. This Amazo being has like multiple different beings as power. It was even stated he clobbered Superman. I'm out of here. This being had all their powers, even Superman's powers. Like it was even stated here when Martian Manhunter pulled up on him, stupid weakness to freaking fire. They always find a way to get him out of the fight. But like anyway, it was some interesting statements here. It was literally stated here. The android stated, Martian Manhunter, you're strong, perhaps as strong as Superman. This is saying a lot, considering this android literally has the superpowers of Superman. It was even stated in this panel, Superman said, you may have my super strength. So it's not like this really could be an exaggeration when he literally has the powers of Superman. So this statement should be taken seriously. It's just that he got this goofy weakness to heat. That was the only real thing. This says a lot because this pretty much proves that Martian Manhunter not only can lift tanks and stuff or planes, but based on the stuff we've seen Superman lift or move. Like there was this comment where they literally had to move the moon itself. Yeah, a big planetoid. It was Green Lantern and Superman working together here. They literally had to move the moon, and Amazo had the nerve to compare Martian Manhunter's strength to Superman, somebody that can move half the weight of the moon at least. And it's not like we haven't seen Martian Manhunter and Superman's muscles kind of clash, and it's not like just simply easy for Superman to break out of his grip here, for example. It's just that freaking stupid weakness to fire, really. I mean, so when we see Superman's face look like this, like it's not easy to just break out of his grip and stuff when it comes to raw muscles and such, knowing what Superman can live or move, half the weight of the moon at least, that would technically mean if Martian Manhunter was in this same situation, wouldn't that technically mean Martian Manhunter could like move the entire structure of the moon, or at least half the weight of the structure, helping Green Lantern in this situation? If he was put in that same situation, couldn't he technically do that too? Having the strength to move the entire moon or half the weight of it, officially proving he can move the weight of at least half planetoid type structures like the moon if he had to, and if was put in that same situation, that would prove even DCAU Martian Manhunter from Justice League Unlimited series, animated series, can move at least half the weight of a planetoid or a small planet at least. Like imagine him just pulling the moon with some chains or some crap. I mean, yeah, you could just casually land 2 islands or 2 mountains on him. He'll be able to carry it with strength, It was even reiterated again in the handbook for Justice League Unlimited, the saga, about how Superman has super strength that's enough to move the Earth's moon. So yeah, to be anywhere in this ballpark, Martian Manhunter by default would be able to move the moon. I mean, just imagine what his punches would feel like. It would feel like a moon landing on you if he put all this pressure into a fist and just drilled you and flew into you with this force. I mean, this isn't necessarily Martian Manhunter here, but like you got statements of Wonder Woman saying the beings they're fighting can hit with the force of a whole planet, or it feels like a whole planet hit them in this situation. It kind of adds up with the lore. So there was this occasion, mind control happens all the time. Like he had to fight his mind controlled, hypnotized teammates. This is where we actually see how he compares to Superman himself in raw strength when he was hypnotized here. Even though there was implications that he still believed Superman had the strength advantage, he still was able to kind of slugfest it with him. Their blows hit like thunder. The walls of the watchtower shake with their force. But in physical, there was implications that Superman had a decent advantage. But like I said a million times, he shouldn't be that far behind still. It's not like he got one shot. I mean, heck, he's still conscious after a straight up hit from Superman while he's hypnotized. This says a lot though, because do you know how much this version of Superman can withstand in Justice League Unlimited series? Okay, so you know how Earth looks compared to the sun? Like, it literally looks like a pebble or a piece of nothing compared to the sun. Imagine something having enough power to rip the sun apart. You're probably thinking, where am I going with this? Superman of this universe had to withstand a blast of something at point blank range that was going to rip the star apart.
Destroy their sun. We destroy the sun. The eye. It contains all the power of the Lantern's battery. It will rip that infernal star apart.
You literally see Superman right next to the crap that was going to rip the star apart. And this big shockwave. It sent him flying and stared at him, but his body withstood that pressure. This Superman's not even bleeding after this, guys. So this is how strong the powerhouses are? And a being that literally has Superman's powers state that he might be as strong as Superman, meaning that he's got to be somewhere in that neighborhood of strength? There's no way you can say this is an exaggeration from an android that literally has Superman's powers. So if anything would know Superman's strength limits, it would be him. But of course, he just has a stupid weakness, of course. It annoys me how everybody conveniently has fire so they can put Martian Manhunter out of commission. That kind of annoys me. That doesn't change how strong his strikes and stuff is. The fact we see Martian Manhunter give Superman some discomfort here, slugfesting with him here, their blows clashing with each other like thunder here, and Amazo confirming it here. Stuff like this pretty much proves that planets like Earth that are nowhere near the size of the sun he could destroy, or his punches will feel worse than an explosion, an Earth-sized explosion. Even if we lowball him and say he can't necessarily like destroy the sun or something, or his hits would not be the equivalent of the sun exploding, even if it's not, just trembling the sun, not necessarily just destroying it, that would still be more impressive than Earth destroying anyway, like Jupiter being way bigger than Earth. And then when you realize how big the Earth is compared to Jupiter, and then when you compare Jupiter to the sun, it just gets crazy. So his punches would feel like basically an Earth smacking you in the face. That's how his fist would feel, an Earth smacking you. But then to be more respectful, it would technically feel worse. Considering he can slugfest with beings that can withstand blasts that can destroy the sun. Planets like Jupiter, his punches would easily be able to tremble, or his punches would technically be able to rip him apart, being comparable to Superman to some degree. His punches, by default, should be able to easily mess up big, large planets like Jupiter, or at the very least tremble or shake big things or structures like the sun itself, based on the fact that this version of Superman withstood and stayed conscious from an attack, or a blast that was ripping a star apart. This DCAU Superman was able to withstand and stay conscious from attacks like that. But you're probably thinking, but he's not as strong as Superman. Well, I kind of agree. I look at it like this. Even if we say Superman got the advantage, which I agree with, like let's say if Superman can lift a planet this size or something, he should be able to lift a planet smaller, but still a planet. You see what I'm saying? So it's one of them situations where, yeah, sure, he still got the advantage, but he's not that far off, if that makes sense. Superman can lift a planet this size, he can lift a planet this size. Like the gap isn't that large. He can still lift planetoids. Superman can just lift larger planetoids, slightly larger ones. Makes sense? Stuff like that. Easy to understand, right? That's what I mean when I say he should be able to do something similar. Or if Superman's punches can shake something this big, then by default, Martian Manhunter's punches should be able to shake something a little bit smaller. You see what I'm saying when it comes to punching power? Like, that's what I mean when I say he shouldn't be that far behind. In punching power, right? Like, stuff like that. Does that make sense to you? Regardless of how you look at it, though, his punches still should be far past Earth-splitting might still. I'm talking about even thousands of times past Earth-shattering levels, really, when you compare the sun to the Earth. Like, it would literally feel like a whole bunch of Earth smacking in your face. Like, that's how his hits would feel. A whole bunch of Earths exploding in your face at the same time, multiple times planet-shattering level, if that makes sense. These two different versions of Martian Manhunter are from different universes, but they're practically the same when it comes to powers and abilities. You can kind of get an idea of how strong Martian Manhunter is by what he does, or vice versa. We've actually seen this Martian Manhunter punch him. You know, Doomsday, a Superman level threat, obviously. We've actually seen this Martian Manhunter put pressure on a Superman. So yeah, the main Martian Manhunter can do this too. One could debate that whatever strength he might lack in Superman, if he's smart with his powers, one could argue that he could walk down Superman's punching power. If he does something like this, like grow real big or something, to make his strikes even harder, because this is the type of stuff he can do. Could he bridge the gap between him and Superman's strength by doing something like this? I mean, he has a multitude of ways to get stronger if he uses his powers smarter, right? What do you think? Do you think if Martian Manhunter got big and increased his mass, could he make his punches harder? I would actually like to hear your thoughts below on that, though. So you know he's ridiculously strong, but you probably would be shocked if I told you that he has combat speed, because you know how mind control works. There's times where the Leaguers have to fight each other because of mind control. Starro, like the Flash, was mind controlled here, or one could say hypnotized. This is where you can get an idea of Martian Manhunter's fighting speed. He even talks about how Flash is the fastest man alive, but Martian Manhunter stated he can control his physiology, aka slow down his perceptions to where everything's in slow motion. It can increase his combat speed to be able to react to Flash blitzing him. This basically confirms he has light speed fighting speed in this universe, at least. Lantern rings shoot their blasts. They're literally stated to be light speed. He called the Flash light speed here. And John, Martian Manhunter, can react to a blitz from Flash. Being they can move ridiculously fast. Like, you see him literally throwing a whole bunch of hits at him. He's able to react to it or block it at least. But I would still say Flash has the edge, but he's at least fast enough to slow down his perceptions enough to where he can react to Flash still. You gotta respect Martian, man. His punches would do this to a planetoid. What do you guys think? Did you guys learn something new? Did you enjoy this? Did you know his punches were this crazy, or his strength in general? Yeah, them comics kind of expand on the mythos. But before I get going, I gotta give a quick thanks to the donators. It helps out a lot. Respect the Martian Manhunter, DCAU. He needs to get out of that watchtower more. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.